what I can.
My father's work I use to get photos online. I got my burner phone and my iPhone. 7 and 11. Oh, things are fun.
Right.
Star.
What white house have you got? What white house have you got? Can you tell me what you want me on? I'm on 2.5 at the moment. 2.5.
Sorry, can you this one?
Yeah, around that. Okay, that's what I was pretty low. Yeah, I can make how long you want.
Yeah, I don't know why it wasn't connected.
Fine.
No.
Anyway, thank you so much.
That was good.
It's got the pre-car thing.
Yeah.
You could do, if you can find it up. There's a stand at the top of my back there. A little nicer stand. Get a nice line and stick it. That's the inwards in the roof. Same batteries, but
Oh yeah.
Yes, it's here from
There we go. We go back to.
Yeah, right. And then a while
Well, yeah, I saw Ollie last night, Donna Rowett, but somebody, she sat in that horse cabinet, it's Gary Rock, it just goes to show you, oh my God,
I don't know, there's no rhyme or reason.
there is no rhyme.
But Ollie was saying it's pretty visual.
Yeah, he said it's
The way yesterday, he was saying that he had it, and it's like, he didn't feel like watching TV. So I did Jamie to show because I haven't seen a day where I've had up really but I'm not supposed to
yeah, because I've got after CRS much the way we know it's a transportation. But this is the one I was like, oh my God, I was up waiting. And this is the I've had to literally it's been one of the things like that. It's supposed to very how much of an initial notion. There's all kinds of weird things that getting quite yeah. Yes, so just make sure. We're not saying they don't like stop us. It's just because once we get out now, when it used to be, it used to be a good way of getting, it's actually almost no good business.
I think you still want to get out.
If anyone needs to use a phone to tell colleagues that it's starting, you can use my colleague's phone over there. Ilan.
So it should be 3-0. Son is probably 3-1. Like 3-3. I said
You made it.
I miss sometimes
Yeah, I think that's so the families are coming. I'm trying, yeah, it's just not that fun. If I'm not. No. Yeah, they're gonna come this way. Amen.
מישהו צריך מים? מישהו צריך מים? יש פה. רוצה מים? דיוויד, מים.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us this morning. 18 days ago, on the 7th of October, we experienced one of the biggest massacres in Israel's history, maybe the biggest massacre. About 1,400 people were brutally murdered. We have more than 220 people taken hostages in the hands of Hamas, and we have thousands of people wounded from this massacre. Our duty is to speak out for those people taken hostages by Hamas and to raise the world's attention. We need those families back home with us. We have today 4 representatives of the families. We have, I'll start with Ofri Bibas, who will tell her story. We have David Bar, and we have, just the name, Ayelet Svatitsky, who are here to speak today. We also have Noam Sagi, who is available for questions. His mother has been taken hostage by Hamas. She is 75. So first, our speakers will tell their stories, then we'll have time for questions. And if after the press conference some of you are interested in having doing interviews, please go through us, through our team, and we'll arrange that for you. Again, thank you for coming, and the floor is yours. You want to start, Ayelet?
Ofri, you want to start?
No. Okay, not today.
Thank you. Is it okay? Thank you all for coming. My name is Ayelet Svatitsky. I'm 46 years old and married. I've got 3 teenagers at home. I live in the north, about 2 hours from the Gaza border and about an hour north of Tel Aviv. On October 7th, around 8 in the morning, I woke up to my husband's voice. He was speaking on the phone, which was pretty unusual, so early on a Shabbat morning. And he said, something bad's happening down south, call your mom now. So I grabbed my phone, and as I opened my... Can you hear me? Yeah. As I opened my phone, I saw my childhood friends. We have a...
Can I see
Okay, thank you. I saw my childhood friends. We have a mutual WhatsApp group saying that there's a missile attack and also a ground invasion by Hamas terrorists, and that they were inside my family's kibbutz. So I called my mother frantically, and I said, go to the safe room, lock the door, don't let anyone in, don't answer. Little did they know, you can't lock the door from the inside because this was never thought of. So the room is designed concrete and metal to shelter them from rockets, but there isn't a lock. She said the house wasn't locked, and the next thing I heard were man's voices speaking to her in English with an accent Arabic. Maybe they heard her speaking English to me. My mother was born and raised in South Africa. So I immediately realized what was happening, and I knew they got to her. So I hung up the phone and I called my brother. He lives next door, 10 meters from her. And I said, go in the safe room, lock the door, don't let anyone else in. I don't know what's happening at Mom's, because I didn't want to tell him what I already knew, because I wanted him to react and not to panic. And the next thing I had the same voices speaking to him, so I realized they got him too. I called a friend on the kibbutz just to let them know that the terrorists were at my mom's and at my brother's, and to send help. But no one could get there, because our little security guards were already engaged in battle with terrorist groups on other neighborhoods in the kibbutz. Then I got 2 pictures minutes later, sent to me from my mom's phone to mine, showing, I can do this without a mic if you want. Is it, can everyone hear me? Okay. So the next thing, I got 2 pictures sent to me from my mom's phone to mine, showing my mother sitting in the living room, still in her nightwear, my brother sitting on the sofa. So they brought my brother from his house to hers. He was dressed but barefoot. Underneath the 2 pictures it said in English, Hamas. A 3rd picture of the same series, Hamas uploaded to my mom's Facebook story. So my mom is 79. She doesn't know how to upload images to Facebook story, so someone else did that. The pictures are not a selfie, so it's obvious they were taken by a 3rd party. And that was the last I heard of them. I later learned a neighbor saw them being taken, walked out of the house and taken by foot. But I didn't know that at the time. I've only learned that a couple of days later, that they were actually seen walked out the house. So the next few hours, I was just waiting for the army to get to my mom's house and see what they could find. The first few hours, I thought they were gone, dead. Both my mom and my brother. I thought they were probably murdered. The news of civilians being kidnapped only started circulating around noon. So until noon, I didn't even imagine the possibility. I just thought that I've lost them. And all I wanted was my other brother and my friends and my friends' families out. Because I figured this tragedy hit me. It's going to hit me really hard. I don't want anyone else to go through what I'm about to go through. Around noon, the news about the kidnapping started circulating, and then I started thinking maybe the pictures were proof of life, maybe they were taking. I didn't even know what was the better option, being killed or being kidnapped by Hamas. So it was a waiting period until around 7 in the evening, when the army managed to get to my mom and my brother's house, and I got a phone call from their kibbutz telling me my mom and my brother were missing, and so was my older brother. I wasn't in touch with him all day because we never spoke during a missile attack or an event. We always spoke after. So I wasn't in touch with him. I was informed he was missing too. His phone was found in his house. The next day, 9 o'clock in the morning, I drove to the nearest police station to my house to file a formal missing persons report and to submit my DNA. And as I went into the police station, I received a phone call from my family's kibbutz that my oldest brother Roy, who was 54, was found. His body was found at daylight. He was shot dead behind his house, murdered. So I filed a missing report for my mom and my brother. The mass casualties bodies are still being identified as we speak because of the numbers and because of the conditions of those who were murdered. 18 days later, my brother's body hasn't been identified officially just yet. I'm 46 years old. My life at the moment is worrying for my diabetic mom and brother who are being held by Hamas. My mother needs insulin shots. I don't know if she's getting them and how long she can survive without them. And then on the other hand, I'm chasing dental records and x-rays and filing forms asking me if my brother had scars or tattoos, or which he didn't. So trying to identify my brother so we can bury him and bring him to rest, and then bringing my mom and my other brother home. So this has been my life for the last 18 days now. 18 days. I find it when I ask people what day is it, they say Monday or Tuesday, and I count by numbers. No, it's day 18. Our life stopped on the 7th of October. I try not to deal with my loss of my brother at the moment because I find it too painful, and if I start thinking about that, then it will hurt too much and it'll break me, and I don't have the privilege of breaking because I have a mission and I need to be efficient and effective and productive, trying to get the Red Cross to our family members, to see them, to get lists of who's been taken. These are 18 days later. We haven't had any information. Are they getting the medications that they need? So we're chasing information. We're trying to get the hostages help, and we're trying to get information out. And we don't have that just yet. I'll show you the this is my mom. She was supposed to be in London now on a holiday with my brother Nadav. They've had tickets booked, a hotel, shows. On Sunday I had to cancel everything because they were in Gaza and they're still there. This picture was taken on their last trip on the airport on the way to London because they came here often. This is my brother Nadav. He's 51. They're just simple people living on a small agriculture community. A kibbutz is the closest thing you can imagine to a village where everybody knows everyone. We all go to the same schools. I know people from the kibbutzes around us. It's that type of a community. We're farmers. My brother, who was murdered, worked in the dairy many years, like my dad did for 35 years. My dad passed away years ago. I worked in the dairy as a young teenager. This is the life we lived. It's a quiet, simple, peaceful life that's been shattered to pieces on October 7th. And all we did was work in the fields and milk the cows. And now my brother is dead. And my family is being held against their will in Gaza. And I'm here to raise awareness for my family, and for all families who have young children and Holocaust survivors and young women and men, elderly, in medical need. And I'm here to speak for my family and for and to be the voice for everyone who can't be here with us now. This is a humanitarian crisis. This is a crime, a war crime, and the hostages have to be released and returned. This isn't a political issue. This is a human crisis, and we demand the return of our loved ones home so we can start healing from this trauma. Thank you.
My name is Ofri Bibas Levi. My younger and only brother, Yaden Bibas, was kidnapped together with his wife, Shiri. And their two young boys. Ariel is 4 years old, and Kfir is 9 months old. Shiri. The day of the attack, I was texting my brother. 6:30, he wrote to me they were going inside the safe room in their house. He wrote, "Here we go again," meaning they were used to the missiles attack. They were living in Nir Oz for years. I left the area over there just a month ago, so I was still a part of a WhatsApp group of another kibbutz. So I saw all the texting over there talking about terrorists invading the kibbutz and shooting, killing people, burning houses, and all the horrible things they've done. So quickly we realized it was a whole other thing, something different than what we used to. My brother wrote to me he can hear a lot of gunfires outside his house, terrorists screaming in Arabic. He told me that his gun was loaded, but he can hear they were using automatic weapons. So he was terrified and very, very scared. I asked them to keep it quiet. He said we were trying to, but it's hard keeping such little boys quiet for so long. Maybe 20 minutes later, he wrote there was a massive fires outside our house right now. I wrote to him, that's good, maybe somebody killed a terrorist. He said, I don't know, I have no idea what's going on, I'm terrified. And then he texted me and my parents, he said, I love you all. I never called him because I was afraid his phone will make noise. I never wrote, I told him, don't say that, shut up. I didn't wrote, I love you back. I was sure everything will be okay. But 10 minutes later, he wrote they were coming inside, meaning they were coming inside his house. And that was the last text I got from him. A few hours later, we got a photo. We didn't know what's going on. A few hours later, we got a photo of Shiri and the kids being kidnapped, surrounded by terrorists. A few hours later, we got also the video of the kidnapped and the video of them breaking inside my brother's house. Seeing this video was the most heartbreaking thing I've ever had to witness. I could see how terrified Shiri was. She kept screaming in the video, stop, stop. I could see her looking for my brother, I'm guessing. I was looking for my brother in the video, any kind of sign of my brother. I could see Ariel, the older one, just looking like confused and shocked, and I don't know what they were going through inside the house before they were taken. I know the terrorists did shoot the family dog in front of their eyes. Was trying to protect them, we guess, by the way he stormed from the safe house. And for 3 days we didn't know anything about my brother. I had a really bad feeling. I kept thinking he was lying dead inside their house. But then on the morning of his birthday, which was October 10th, we got his first, some pictures of him also being taken by terrorists. This is one of them. You can see him. We can see him alive, but still we know these pictures are from Saturday. We got them only on Tuesday. He was bleeding from his head. The terrorist on another picture is really strangling him. On this picture, I can see there's a hammer here with blood on it, and my brother's head is bleeding. And those pictures and the Shiri's video with the kids is our last sign of life from them, 18 days ago. And ever since, it's like living in a nightmare. The pictures keep running in front of my eyes. I feel guilty for eating. I feel guilty for sleeping in my own bed. I feel guilty for playing with my children or covering my children at night. She's 4 years old. She's Ariel's best friend. Just 2 days before the attack, Ariel was telling his mom, Shiri, that he wants to leave the kibbutz and come live next to us, next to my daughter. They were planning on leaving the area. They couldn't bear living in this anxiety anymore with the missiles. We never imagined anything like this happening. Yeah, and now yesterday they were talking about freeing some hostages. It's really confusing. It's like a psychological torture for us, the families, hearing that they're releasing this one or this one. Or we want them all of them back, and we want all of them back now together. And we need all of you to spread it and making the important people in the government and all around the world just putting an end to this horrible story. Thank you.
My name's David Bar, originally from Leeds. I've been living in Israel since 1984 and on Kibbutz Halumim since 1991. Kibbutz is actually built on two pioneering groups from England, from the youth group of Bnei Akiva. I'll start by answering Ayelet. It was easier to bury our loved ones than to go through the anguish that they're going through. And I can't believe I'm saying that. We buried my sister-in-law, Naomi. It took 4 days to identify what we call the smile of the south of Israel. She was well known. She worked as a dental assistant, and in the past few years also as a keep fit freak. She simply went for a run near Kibbutz Yad Mordechai towards Netziv Asara, the Eretz crossing. And although it took a few hours because they took shelter because of the missiles, she was shot in the back and shot again in the head at point-blank range. When we mourned her death, we sat for a week, we were left with guilty feelings. Mourning for her, wait a minute, look what's going on. Thinking of the others, why aren't we thinking of her? Life is turned upside down by death, by hatred, by evil people, monsters. Kibbutz Halomim is a religious settlement, a religious kibbutz which sits between Kfar Aza and Kibbutz Be'eri, and together with all the other kibbutzim and moshavim, we're all one people, 15 to 18,000 people who live in the area who have all been evacuated. That's what I have. I left. Felt like my father who left Vienna in 1939. "6:30 that morning, the rockets came over, but we're used to that. 20 years we've had it. The family that we went to stay with until the body could be identified live in a place called Nitzan, between Ashdod and Ashkelon, 35 kilometers north. Should be out of the area. That was my other sister-in-law. They built their house there after giving up their house in the Katif region of Gaza Strip 20 years ago in the name of peace, together with all those who lived in that area. They rebuilt their lives. Peace they didn't get, rockets they received. And even there we sat in the bomb-proof room under missiles attack and the possibility of infiltration of terrorists. Back to Halomim, 6:30 started the rockets. 7:15, it was very strange that it hadn't stopped. We're normally in and out of the bomb-proof room, but this time we were staying in. And as religious Jewish people, we don't normally open our mobile phones and televisions on the Sabbath, and it was also a festival. But we opened it in the sanctity of life to look after ourselves. And the messages started to come through. The first thing I saw was cars in Sderot. Open cars with RPGs, machine guns, rattling everybody. Like in a film. 11 kilometers away. Carried on getting messages just to stay in and stay in. 1 hour, 2 hours. I turned to my wife and I said, you know, Naomi, she normally runs. That was her hobby. My wife wanted to believe she was okay. I knew she wasn't okay. And she never ran with her phone. To cut it short, we spent from the Sabbath morning till Sunday afternoon, 2 o'clock in the room, constantly under fire, missile fire, and what we've never experienced in the kibbutz, the infiltration of terrorists. We have a defense team like any kibbutz. Volunteers. Luckily they were at home when this attack started, which meant they could leave their house and defend our community, farming community, as much as they could. Just let me mention, had it been 1 hour later, there would have been 600 of us inside the synagogue celebrating the ending of the reading of the Torah, which takes a year. There would have been a massacre of 600 people in the synagogue. I live in a world of what could have been. Personally, I'll never get over those feelings of having 2 married children living in the area, each with 3 grandchildren, my grandchildren, their children. One in Kibbutz Karmia, in the north, near Yad Mordechai, next door to Netiv Asara, and the other in Kibbutz Nerim. We're closer than we ever knew. She knows the family that my daughter married into. I hope we look young enough that you can understand I still feel I can look after my children when they're phoning me, stay in, don't go out, Abba, Ima, just don't move. And there's nothing we could do. And there's nothing they could do. And each time I go back to those regaim, moments, when you think your whole family is going to be wiped out, your whole life just goes in front of you in seconds. We receive messages that 4 out of 12 of the team defending Alumim had been injured. The local clinic on the kibbutz was cut off by the terrorists. May I mention that on Be'eri, Kfar Aza, and other kibbutzim, the local clinics don't exist anymore. They were blown to pieces. Luckily, we have good nurses who never ever thought they would be in these type of situations. And under fire with his car, somebody managed to get at least 2 of them out to the hospital in Beersheba. And the other 2 had to wait much later. We received, after phone calls to my wife's brothers and sisters, it was clear to us that Naomi was either missing or taken into, well, she was either dead or taken into hostage or taken as a dead person into hostage, which is a hobby the Hamas do. Let me remind you, we've been fighting for 4 children, 4 boys, 8 years to receive their bodies back. We have a little garden, like a little park on our kibbutz, in the name of those 4 soldiers. The Golden Park, we call it. My wife Ilana actually looks after it. And there were 10 terrorists at the end of the day found dead in that park, luckily. They came in through the back gate of Kibbutz Alumim. They found the bomb shelter of our foreign workers who were very close to, and they'd slaughtered all of them, 15 to 16. Some of their partners who had joined them over the Sabbath were taken captive. We've heard nothing from them since. On a personal level, I'm a teacher in the area. I teach Bible studies and Jewish philosophy, teach the sanctity of life. Every person is made in the image of God. I had a class which had a Muslim, a Christians, mostly Jewish, LGBT. We had them all. And we teach the honor of man. And here I'm left. Missing pupils, 3 pupils from Netiv Asara, parents, children, teachers. That's the nephew of a teacher I work closely with, from Kibbutz Nir Oz. 2 other brothers, I think, are with him. She also lost her mother and her son, Galit Dan. Two o'clock in the afternoon, after just over 30 hours, we left Kibbutz Alumim. We couldn't go with our members because we had to stay in the area to wait to find if Naomi's body would be identified. And for that short time, we were in their shoes. It's a pain and an anguish you cannot describe. And it's horrible to say, but the relief to know she'd been shot and that we could bury her came through 4 days later. It was a relief. When we left Kibbutz Alumim at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, we took a car. I got to the gate of Alumim, I could see smoke on the right. They had burnt down, we just built a totally new milking parlour for the kibbutz. I don't know if that's significant for you, but for us, it was the pride of the south of Israel. It doesn't exist anymore. Cows who are not milked get infected, and we have 700 who are slowly dying. Chicken houses burnt down, fields torched. I could see it from the right, but I couldn't go there. Because everywhere I looked, going out of the gate, were bodies and cars riddled. But I'm not talking about one car here, one car. I'm talking about like a traffic jam of cars. They must have stopped them, people coming in and just riddled them off. It's a sight which nobody should ever see. I said I live on what could have been. I'm not one for living on luck. But luckily, my son's family got out of Crimea. That's my eldest son. He stayed in the area to help people in Netiv Asara. He tried to get to Alumim, to us, and then ended up helping people in Kfar Aza. He came out of Kfar Aza, he couldn't talk. A week later, I saw him at our mourning. He couldn't talk. I took him aside. I said, Asaf, are you okay? He said, Abba, he can't be in this world. You're the Bible teacher. Explain. My other son, my last son, he lives in London. He came straight home. His best friend, who is actually the granddaughter of one of the top football managers, Sharaf, in Israel, his granddaughter was murdered. And I'll tell you how she was murdered. She came back from the party and they looked for somewhere to hide. So they hid in a shelter, crowded in. 40 of them, youngsters. 2 grenades were thrown inside, 40 were killed, murdered. I'm here today to show my, first of all, support, because I only had that anguish for 3 days of looking for a lost one. We also lost soldiers and we lost civilians from Alumim who were in the area. My son was at the funeral of one of his best friends who lived in Kfar Aza. They buried his teeth because that's what's left. As Ayelet said, this isn't a war. It's not the Israel-Palestinian conflict. This is a war against humanity. Nothing less. And it can't be that tomorrow everybody will turn around and say, okay, we reported it and we'll carry on. If you turn the other cheek this time, it'll haunt you back in the future. Israel is fighting the war of the West. Nothing more and nothing less. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions? Please raise your hands and can you please say your name and who you represent?
Thank you very much. Andy Bell from Channel 5 News. Could I just ask, at this stage, would you like the Israeli government to delay any ground offensive because you would like more time for negotiations to see your loved ones free?
From my point of view, I'm not a politician and an army person. I just want my family and all the families, all the other hostages back home. I know that a ground invasion can cause a lot of casualties on both sides for innocent people. So I don't know what is the right way to do it. I have to trust the Israeli government to do whatever is right for our families, to bring them as safe as soon as possible. And I know that at some point they will have to go in because the Hamas we must put an end to the Hamas. I don't know exactly the right timing. Again, I'm not a politician. It is scary to think that they will go inside while our families is there. It can escalate the situation. So I'm afraid of it happening, but I have to trust that if that's what they decide to do, it will be in the best interest of our families and bringing them back. I can only hope so and have my trust in the Israeli government, because that's all I have right now.
We have no quarrels with the Palestinian people. And I'll be quite honest with you, my heart goes out to them. Until 20 years ago, we had Palestinian workers in the kibbutz. Ahmed used to do all the plumbing in the kibbutz, so often used to sit with him for his 10 o'clock coffee. Once the Hamas came in, for security reasons, we could not continue working with Palestinian workers, and they also weren't allowed to come and work everywhere they worked before. So, as Ofri said, we don't want to see bloodshed on either side. I know the Israeli army, we're not on a revenge mission. But we're on a mission that needs to take evil out of this world. Nothing less, no different than ISIS. It needs to be eradicated, and the Palestinian people need to be freed from the Hamas. If we have to do it, I rely on the Israeli army, on the Israeli government, to make the correct moral decisions. It's a moral dilemma. But I rely on them to make the correct moral decisions, because they are a moral government and a moral army. We sanctify life, they sanctify death.
I understand how complicated it is. I believe Israel has a responsibility for the hostages and for their release. But they also have a responsibility to ensure that life can exist on the southern border of Gaza. And as long as Hamas is on the other side, there cannot be life on all of those villages and kibbutzim and towns, because we saw what happens when Hamas is across the border from us. We saw it in our own eyes, okay, but the ground is still soaking from our family's blood. We don't need to guess. They showed us what happens when they're across the border. So I have to put my trust in both the Israeli government and the Israeli army, that I can't advise them as to what's the best way to move forward, but I trust them. They know that my number one priority is to bring mom and brother back home, and I trust them to find the right balance and to do whatever they can to bring our families to us, but also to ensure that life can still exist. So when my brother and mother are returned, they're not also only returned, they also have a home they can return to. Thank you.
Yes, please.
Wayne Wright from the Press Association. The mother of a British Israeli woman who was put on Lipschitz was released yesterday by Hamas. Is that development giving you any?
He said, I'm sorry, did you say mother of Sharon is
Sharon
British?
Lipschitz, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Is that the development giving you
She's
any
not.
release?
Ma?
She's not British, she's just released.
Ah, okay.
Has that development given you any more hope at all about what will happen to your families
Then if it gives us hope.
I think when anyone's released, there's a little sigh of relief. But let's be honest, it's a big game. It's the way a terrorist movement works. It keeps those people who, in their anguish. Is it mine? Who's coming? Who's coming out? So they released 2 people out of 210, 20. It's a game. As if to show, they're showing the world how compassionate they are.
Making the world forget what happened just 18 days ago. Trying to make the world forget what happened just 18 days ago. And it's those releases are really like torture for us, the families. Every time something like this came up in the media, it's really, really torture.
I spoke earlier about how those villages, those kibbutzes are very similar to villages. We all go to the same schools. We all know each other. Those 2 hostages that were released yesterday, okay, so they're not my family members, but they're someone's family. We all know each other in the area. I know the gentleman that David's daughter's married to. He's from my kibbutz. One of the ladies that was released yesterday, I know her sons. Noam's mother, Ada, was my Hebrew teacher in high school. We have a say in Israel now, everybody knows somebody. So on a personal level, someone's mom came home yesterday. Maybe not my mom, not just yet, but someone's mom came home yesterday. It's a beginning. It's far from the end. There are still hundreds of people to be released. So am I hopeful? I won't rest until the last one is home. My mom or others, Shiri's family, and I've made a promise to Shiri that when my mom is out, my brother, if God forbid her family is still in the, and now she'll do the same for me, because we all are family now, here and back in Israel. So 2 are out, their families, their husbands are still in there. Those families still don't have peace of mind. They're still worried about their fathers. Families have been torn apart. But I've made a promise, and I'm sure that we will not rest until the last one is home.
Yes, please.
Hi, Sharon Barber from BBC News. I know you wanted to speak to your brother, but you didn't want the phone to go. What would you say to your families, and what would you say to their captors now?
I would tell my brother and his family how much I love them. I always knew how much he loved me. I never knew how much I loved him. He always used to care about me. He's like this big man, but he's the most sensitive and gentle and always caring for his children, for us. So I would tell him how much I love him and how much I miss him. And how much I'm doing everything I can, which is not much, but everything I can to bring them back. And I would tell Shiva to stay strong for the kids. She's a great mom, and I'm sure she's doing everything she can to keep them safe. I hope they're not seeing too much horrible things that kids shouldn't see or experience over there. And to the Hamas, I don't think we speak the same language, and I'm not meaning about Arabic. But I would tell to them that those people are not part of this war, and children should not be part of this war, and innocent people should not be part of this war. The innocent people in Gaza shouldn't be part of this war. And they should just let all of them back home as soon as possible.
I'm clinging to the hope. My mom knows how much I love her, because I never got the chance to tell her. And I'm clinging to the hope that I'll still get the chance to say that to her again. I was so frantic to hang up the phone and call my brother and then call someone in the kibbutz and maybe send assistant and maybe someone could. And I never said I love you, Mom. People ask me back home, how come you're still standing? People come to visit me, to pay their respect. And I haven't buried my brother yet, so we haven't had the Shiva yet, we haven't had the proper Jewish mourning. People say, how come you're still standing? On the phone, running everything. I say to them, when my mom and my brother are back, I want them to know I've done everything in my power. I want to live my life going forward knowing, being able to tell myself that I have done everything I possibly can. I just hope she knows, and my brother know how much I love them. About a month ago was the last time I visited down south, and my children were busy, my husband was resting, I had a couple of hours. I said to my mom, I'm going to grab a couple of beer bottles and run off to Roy's house. He's in a different neighborhood, and I'll go sit on his porch. And I knocked on his door. Yeah, we sat there for 2 or 3 hours just chatting. You know, a brother and a sister sitting outside with a couple of beer bottles, having a laugh. Who would imagine this would be the last time I speak to him? I'm just happy I got the chance, you know. I just grabbed a couple of bottle beers and ran off, and I said, let's have a chat, you know. Last time I spoke to him, gone, shot dead behind his house. What? So I hope he knows how much I loved him. And I hope I get to tell my mom and my other brother face to face soon. And I have nothing to tell Hamas. Absolutely nothing. I mean, people who do this, what can you say to them?
as Ofri said, we're not talking the same language. People who can walk into other people's houses, kill their parents and tie their children up in front of their dead parents and sit there eating out of the fridge. Another house, raping young girls, killing an 8-month pregnant lady, cutting her womb open and killing the fetus inside. And you ask me, what have I got to say to them? Give me the language. I don't speak that language. Her parents know that her mum knows she loves her and her brother, and the same here. Hamas, nothing.
My name is Rachel Douglas from Sky News. What message would you like to give to the British government, anyone watching now? Have you been satisfied with the level of support you think Rishi Sunak is offering? Is there more they could be doing, do you think, to support people and hostages, themselves and fathers?
I think both the Prime Minister here and the President of the State of Israel committed themselves like I cannot remember anybody since the days of Koresh 2,500 years ago. Their speeches have been supportive in no way that I've ever felt in the past, but they've never really had that need. Continued support to give advice, but also to rely on the Israeli government and the army to do the right thing. But as a British citizen myself, and I love this country, but it's not the country I left. Things have changed. And I don't worry only for my own family now. I worry for my Jewish community here in Israel, in England. They live in fear. And not only do I worry for them, I worry for everybody here. Something has changed. I may be wrong. I may be wrong, and I hope I'm wrong. My mother was a chairman of the Council of Christians and Jews in Leeds for many years, and she was also the chairman of the representative council of the community. And the relationships between Jews and Christians and other religions at that time were fantastic. I haven't heard any moderate religious leader stand up and condemn what the Hamas did. I don't need sympathy for what we're going through. I need people to condemn that act, and I have a feeling, and I may be wrong, that people are frightened to condemn that act. One thing in my studies I learned, and I use it in school as well, whatever is on the periphery of society, tomorrow it's in the center. We can ignore it. We can try and say, oh, it's somewhere else. It doesn't work like that. What's not dealt with, tomorrow it's on your doorstep.
I would just ask them not to forget what happened. Sometimes we have short memories, and there are other news and things are forgotten, but this should not be forgotten, and everything should be done until all our families are back. I know they are doing stuff already. I'm not sure exactly what. I'm not involved, but I'm sure that they already are involved in doing stuff, helping us bring in our families. So I just want to thank the support and encourage them to continue with their help. And just just never forget about our families, never forget about what happened in Israel.
First and foremost, I think all governments across the world, the UN, everyone, should do everything in their power to release all the hostages. There are children there, there are elderly people there, medical needs. I think the world needs to stand united behind the demand to bring all of them home. On a personal note, I'm faced with a painful situation myself. I'm a British citizen, so are both my brothers, the one who was murdered and the one who's kidnapped, Nadav. We're British citizens on our dad's side. He was raised in Wakefield, up in Yorkshire. My mom is not a British citizen. So I'm torn with So I'm just, they're talking about releasing all the foreigners and not releasing yesterday, and I believe it's part of the psychological war, I would say. Definitely. That Hamas is playing with us. So just for me personally, it's really scary that my brother will be released, and if he's like supporting my mom in some way, she'll be left without him. So, and again, the rumors, we haven't seen those 50 people home yet. They're just saying they might, maybe release. So for me, it just touches a nerve, a really painful one. Just scared that what does that mean, Mom? That's the only thing for me.
No.
Right. I'm sitting on the side because I became a poster boy of pain, and I want to actually give you everybody the opportunity to share that burden. And I want to step in now because I think we're talking about cruelty and pain, and a level that I think no one here in the UK can think about. That happened here. It's shocking, it's disturbing. If I would come with more details, it would be more shock and more horror, and there is so much pain involved. It's a psychological warfare from the beginning, way the beginning of that, and it's still going on now. It's designed to shock us, all of us, separate us and kill our spirit. Kill the Israeli spirit. And I think that what we are showing together is that it did the opposite. Because we unite in pain. Because we unite in kindness and love. Nothing about religion. Nothing about borders. Nothing about gender. Nothing about color. And the psychological warfare that started before by using civilians as a shield, as a human shield, just to come up with a picture that someone from the media here will show the world that look at these guys, what they do to our kids. That when money comes in, goes to create tunnels and prioritizing tunnels rather than your own people. That when people talk about blockade, but there is enough room to bring all this ammunition in. That's about priority. That's about who we are as humans and what is it that we're willing to do for each other. And the psychological warfare continues now because we live in a world of lists. That is our life right now. We have a dead list. We have the injured list. We have the rescued list. We have the missing list. We have the kidnap list. And now we have 4 people on the released list. The shortest list of them all. You look behind, you see pictures. I look behind. This is where we spend the summer. My son goes every summer to spend 2 months with his grandmother. 80 people, 80, from the community is gone. This is 1 in 4. So this psychological warfare is continuing. It's continued by you putting pressure on Israel now to say, what is it that you're doing? It will continue because people will go to the street and will say, from the river to the sea. I really don't think this is what I mean, because what happened on the 7th of October was the river to the sea. These cameras are weapons, for good or for bad. We need people to unite around one simple message. Your life is not more important than mine. Excuse me that I'm stepping now in, because I feel kind of felt sorry to my wife that I brought so much trauma and drama into her life by choosing to marry me. And I feel like you can be involved in all this in a way that is so alien to your life here. And I echo David, it's not just happening in a corner in the Middle East. It's a mindset, all right? Who are we? Why are we here? And what unites us? And we will stand up for that if they leave or they die. If one of them is released or 2 of them released, till the last of them is released. For the people of Palestine who deserve proper life and a proper government that represents them in a proper way. We will fight for that. I will fight for that. And to answer your question, I would say, the Prime Minister looked me in the eye and said he will do everything in his power to help. It was comforting, it was reassuring, and we all need to see what that means, because our life turned upside down 18 days ago. We're not going to stop. We can't afford to sleep, because my mom is somewhere in a ditch, I don't know where. Because your family is there, because for Kfir and Ariel, I will do everything in my power that they will have a future that is better than that. And the government, which we are absolutely thankful for all the efforts and the kindness, we need to see that comes across in the street. We need to see the Metropolitan Police coming in and say, guys, you know what the river to the sea means? We just saw that. That's what it means. We will never have the numbers, and that's even not the point. What we'll have is the heart, and spreading love, and standing up for love and humanity, and this is what we will continue to do, and this is nothing to do with Jewish, Christian, Muslim, or anyone else. And for that we have the numbers. So I want to thank the British government for everything that they did up till now and what they will do from here. Because we need that. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll take one last question, and then I think we'll start from here. I know there are some requests for specific interviews. We will help facilitate them. One last question. Okay. So I just say thank you. Thank you, Fred, David, Ayelet, and Noam. I don't know how you do this, because every time you have to go through the trauma again, and it's unbelievably painful for us from the side. So thank you for sharing that with us today, and we will not rest until all of our hostages are back home. And I can assure you, Now we will thank you everyone for coming. Thank you for taking the time, and you have, like Noam said so well, you have weapons for good and for bad. So please don't forget that when you tell the story of our people here, and don't forget what happened on the 7th of October. Thank you for this moment.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And you can use the T word, because this is what it is. So just call it for what it is.
Please, can you just give the three of us one each of the three of
Yes.
Do that. רוצים שנרים את התמונות, דיוויד? הכי קרוב שאנחנו יכולים אחד לשני.
Can we move the microphone?
Upside down.
You're upside down.
Looking up here, guys.
And just over this side, please.
And then just go over this far end, just
Could you also perhaps hold the photograph?